Well, the left not just calling for criminal justice reform, they now want to defund the police. It comes after 2 NYPD officers were shot and another was stabbed last night while protecting against looting. This new push gaining support across the country, including from former Hillary Clinton campaign press secretary Brian Fallon. But is it warranted? Tucker Carlson challenging the narrative. Take a look.
Is our nation being ripped apart by a total and complete lie, a provable lie? Last year, the Post logged a total of 1,004 killings. Of the 802 shootings in which the race of the police officer and the suspect was noted, 371 of those killed were white, 236 were black. The vast majority were armed. Overall, there were a total of precisely 10 cases in the United States last year, according to the Washington Post, in which unarmed African Americans were fatally shot by the police. In 2 of those cases, in fully half, the officer was criminally charged. Is it possible that more of these officers should have been charged? Of course it's possible. Justice is not always served, that's for sure. But either way, this is a very small number in a country of 325 million people. This is not genocide. It's not even close to genocide. It is laughable to suggest it is. In fact, the number of police killings is dropping. No American should ever be mistreated by those in authority, much less killed.
So, Lawrence, is there a danger here in this narrative that all police should be defunded? Because as we know, when policing stops in crime-ridden communities, the people who suffer the most are those who have no defense against the criminals.
So let me push back a little bit, because I think this so often happens when we're having these debates. And this is all centered around the one term, systematic racism. So let's talk about this a little bit. Because we aren't on the ground, and I mean Republicans on the ground, we talked about this a little bit on the show. We are always on defense when it comes to the issues that the left talks about the black community. So for example, the issue is not just police shooting, it's about what happens on the ground in the police department. So with the Ferguson report, you saw that it was big government in there, and they were literally policing for profit. When you look at Minneapolis, you see in the police department where with the stops and the use of force, that when it comes to black Americans, it's a big problem there. So instead of people on the right saying, you know what, this is our plan. Like, for example, get rid of the unions and put our policies in there. When people say systematic racism, when it comes to the education system, instead of being on the ground and say, you know what, here's school choice. People should not have to go to failing schools just because they live in the zip code. When people say that it's not safe in our community, instead of going into the community like Maj Toure does, a Republican, and says, you know what, this is how you defend yourself. These are your rights. There is an answer for every single thing. But because conservatives on a local level, I'm not talking about the president's national policy, all right? Local level is how you get things done. We never have a response. So we go back and forth on who's a bigger racist and who's not.
Yeah. Greg, your thoughts on the defund the police movement?
There's obviously that's bigger than it being about structural racism. It's a radical agenda meant to dismantle society, because once you remove the police, there are no protections at all, even for minority neighborhoods. And the police exist to protect us from ourselves, right? Without them, you have Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. But you got it. The thing that damages a lot of these arguments is statistics. White officers, according to one study, are less likely to shoot non-white people than non-white officers shooting non-white suspects. I hope I got that right. White officers are less likely to shoot non-white than non-white shoot non-white. So if the police is structurally racist, it's intramurally racist. So that's not a black problem, it's our problem, right? It is a small number, but the fact that non-white officers are more likely to shoot non-white suspects than white suspect, that kind of destroys the racial narrative. Meanwhile, a police officer is 18.5 times more likely to be killed by a black male than an unarmed black male is to be killed by a cop. And that is not saying that the latter is like not a big deal, because it is. But there's a lot of, once you get into the statistics, if I can pronounce that word, what you find is that the emotions are real, but untethered to some very uncomfortable facts that we wish to ignore.
You know, yeah. You know, Dana, I went down to Washington, D.C., downtown yesterday just to take a look at what was going on and see with my own eyes what was happening. There were lots of protesters there laying in the streets, and there were lots of police there who were black police officers. So the question is, well, does defund the police also apply to them?
Well, apparently. I mean, he didn't leave any room for nuance. It just says defund the police, and Republicans should be so lucky if the progressives and the Democrats want to pick this up as their mantle and make hashtag defund the police their election motto going into 2020. But I do think there is a room here for some compromise and maybe even some bipartisan agreement because I've been learning a little bit more about concerns from both sides of the aisle about police unions. So that might be something that where you could find some agreement, and you could look like, you know, when you say you want to do something specific and justice for George Floyd, for his death to have meant something for change, that might be it. The other thing I would point out to everybody, but maybe specifically to the left, is if you really care about refugees who are desperate to come into America, what's the #1 reason they want to come to America? It's not just because they think they'll get a job. It's because they're fleeing the violence in their own countries where the police and the government cannot protect them. That's why they want to come here, because if you have safety and opportunity, then you can achieve something.
Yeah, Juan, doesn't there have to be some kind of balance between police accountability? Police are armed agents of the government. They should be held accountable for bad behavior, but also not going so far as to put communities that need policing in jeopardy for future crime.
Yeah, I think this is a bad idea, defund the police. I don't know exactly. You know, to me, it's poor communities that need higher levels of attention engagement from the police to produce good policing to make people feel safe in their homes and in terms of their stores, property, and the rest. So I think that, in fact, you just need good policing. Now, if they're talking about doing away with, like, you know, some of the delivery of tanks and military equipment after wars, that I think they could definitely do away with. I just wanted to speak for a second to the idea of these statistics, because it's clear from the statistics that I see that half of the people who die from police shootings are white. But remember, blacks are only 13% of the population, and according to these numbers, black people are killed at twice a rate of white people by police. And in fact, it's not only that, they're twice as likely to be unarmed. So again, to come back to Lawrence's point, I think there's more engagement, and it's not always on a positive nature. It leaves people feeling like the police might be an occupying force, and we don't want that.
You know, I just want to tack on to Juan's statistic, which is, and people can go and check this. I believe you're looking at population, and you're not looking at police encounters. And there might be a change in the statistics on that, but that's for later.